Welcome. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, I talk about media literacy and I talk about it from the perspective of having worked in the media and communications field for more than 20 years. And what I've learned is this that you can use your critical thinking skills, your discernment to read between the lines when somebody is making a statement. An apology, we always see lots of those given by various entities at some point to manage their reputations. When somebody is having to answer a question, maybe it's a politician who's having to address something quite controversial, or when we are listening to a podcast, opinion makers, thought leaders, and perhaps we want to challenge our own assumptions as well. Perhaps we don't just want to believe everything that we believe. Perhaps we want to take things with a pinch of salt and always reflect, review before we make a decision, before we take a position. We're not taught this kind of thing in school. We're not taught it around the dinner table. And if you are, then you're lucky. I wasn't raised that way. I think my education in the humanities and political science helped, but that was a long time ago. But I think probably more working in the journalism and media and public relations field has got me questioning things in a way that perhaps I wouldn't have, because the practice of working in this field is to always read between the lines, extract messages, figure out a way to communicate effectively whilst meeting your objective, protecting your reputation, and connecting with your audience in the way that is most necessary, important for yourself and your objective for the right here, right now. And so that involves a lot of crafting, a lot of stakeholder management, a lot of research, and a lot of writing. And when you're doing all of that, um, you can understand how spin is spun. And when you understand that, you notice it. So when you know how to do something, you can notice it when others are doing it. And now that we are in this age of information pollution, propaganda is fed to us like it's fact. We should be concerned, especially about our younger generations. If my teenager is consuming content and information and just taking it as fact, I want to make sure that they are learning how to question and become a critical thinker. Are our children being encouraged to be critical thinkers? Are we letting them challenge us and argue with us in a healthy way around the dinner table? Is that happening? Or are we training them to accept everything and just go with the tide? Move with it, accept the status quo, conform. So, the objective for my content is to perhaps demonstrate that in a n- more organic and spontaneous way, in a sort of not so scripted way, by watching things, commentating, asking questions that perhaps aren't being asked, critiquing something, especially if it's an interview or a press briefing, and wondering why they didn't say things a different way. Perhaps I'll also record a video like this and provide some explanation as to why I believe media literacy is really important. And perhaps there will be other streams that occur just chat and build community, because if there are more of us in the comment section who are open-minded and open to engage in healthy dialogue, then what does that say for real life? because it seems to be this sort of trend of real life disenchantment now manifesting itself, reflecting in the comment section. I think almost compassionately about trolls, the amount of hate that they can spew behind these anonymous handles. Like, how are they really in their lives? There's some trolls who constructively push back and they have some really good points. But trolling overall, it's not constructive. But they make that choice. And so to make that choice to create um, mm, chaos, sometimes chaos and disorder can be healthy, but to make a choice to disrupt, no, disrupt can also be healthy and necessary. To make a choice to hate, to make a choice to hate without fact, um, without sort of like pushing back in a healthy way, to make that choice, um, instead of trying to engage in a conversation, in a dialogue, means that you've got to be in a sort of not so healthy state of mind, not so optimistic, perhaps not so objective, perhaps reactive. That's the word that I was looking for. To make the choice to be reactive, which has a big ingredient missing, and that's reflection. Are you reflecting before you speak? Are you reflecting on something before you spout it? Are you just having that moment to check in with yourself? So I wonder, what has us so reactive? What has us reactive in the comment section, but in real life as well? So much so that we are willing to fly off the handle in real time conversations with people, in real face to face conversations, perhaps in relationships as well. Well, how are we raised, and what are we exposed to consistently all the time? The news, headlines, doom and gloom. We hear it on the radio. We hear it from our colleagues at work, around the dinner table. But do we hear anything alternative? Do we hear a challenge to all of that doom and gloom? Do we hear anything that could potentially be an antidote or a solution to it? And because we're not, on the whole, what's then happening is that we end up becoming these disempowered creatures where we're just disen- disengaged, disenchanted, just ready to diss anyone in the comment section, ready to diss a creator, especially given the fact that maybe the creator is trying to do something that's going to be helpful for other people. I often get these comments that I should stick to lifestyle content when I've not really created lifestyle content before. As a qualified yoga teacher, I've created some yoga and well-being content, but never in the way that you see yoga brands now doing it. So it's quite absurd to expect people to not want to do something proactive and productive with their time, their skills, and their efforts. So I think usually the biggest critics of people who are actually contributing are people who aren't doing anything productive with their time. And that's a choice. But maybe that choice has been ingrained in us, where we're choosing to be disempowered rather than empowered and encouraging of others. And if you want to disagree, it's fantastic. Just do it in a healthy way. Do it in a way that's actually going to get you and the other party somewhere. Or are we just disagreeing because we want to feel right? Are we disagreeing and wanting to have the conversation because we want to feel right or because we want to control the discourse and the narrative? Or because we actually want to engage in good faith and perhaps want to learn something, share something? All of these things sort of take practice, and they're not supposed to sort of come completely easy to any of us. But that's because we're not perfect. We're human. And as humans, we are prone to making mistakes. And so the only way for us to become better um, as commenters in the comment section, or humans in real life, or content creators or thinkers or doers, is to just do a better job every day and through trial and error get better at it. Media literacy is not something that sort of just comes easy to everyone. It's not something that we've been sort of rigorously trained in or taught in. Most of the time, in most cases, our education system has told us to just accept what they tell us, revise it, memorize it, and then lay it out on an examination test paper to get the best marks. That kind of repetition of, you tell me what's right, I'll repeat that, and then I will essentially be right. I will be doing a good job. I've been able to basically parrot fashion repeat what you want me to think. Right. That's where I'll get the best marks. Now, obviously, there's sort of the academic world where you are encouraged to be critically thinking, debating, doing your research, bringing different perspectives to the table. But even those perspectives are chosen for you. Try bringing in a perspective that's not on the reading list. Try bringing a perspective that's not one that your lecturer or teacher, professor is familiar with. Again, things can be programmed for us. And so we have to try to unprogram ourselves and spot opportunities. And so I want this channel and my content to just be that, to be an opportunity. I haven't had any sort of content creators that I follow who will sincerely do something like this. They might have conversations with others and interview them and try and be neutral, but most of them have quite strong leanings politically or ideologically. And wouldn't it be refreshing just to kind of step away from all that sort of political and ideological baggage and see where we find ourselves? Wouldn't it be refreshing for us to engage with each other in the comment section without baggage and without judgment? And then imagine what that kind of a dynamic looks like in real life, because I don't think we have that in real life. That's why I decided to press record right now, and say all of this in a completely unscripted way. It just helps sometimes to re-articulate the mission, and the objective of what we're doing. And this was genuinely off the top of my head, but I think it's necessary just to remind anyone who is tuning into this channel and who has subscribed, um, as well as to all platforms that I'm on, that this is the intention behind the content. And sometimes I might deviate a little bit. Um, I might mess up, but that's because I'm human. But it shouldn't take away from anyone's experience or skills. Some people are so quick to let you know when you tripped up. and they can do so in quite a ungracious way. Now, so far, I haven't had any major trip ups. I've just done some things that people don't agree with or said some things that people don't agree with, and that's absolutely fine. But is it that we have not been allowed to make mistakes and trip up and trial and error that we now don't even give ourselves that grace? That that means you wouldn't create, you wouldn't do anything. You would just sit back and observe. Sit back and be a voyeur. But you can be so much more, and we are so much more than that. But we are being trained to be users, viewers, rather than doers. And I think the thing that kind of switches us from being the user to the doer, the creator rather than just the viewer, is that sort of questioning, that reflection. I think that's what really tips things for us. And that's what I want to do with this content. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in and watching this far into the video. That means you will be happy, I hope, to like this video and subscribe, follow if you haven't already, and check out my links and support me as much as you can possibly can. I appreciate your help. Thank you.